3, 2, 1, go.
Hi guys, Coach Ty is with me today, and we're here to bring you a bunch of pull-up variations that you can do at home. Murph is coming not too far away, kind of like the end of May, but we are going to start giving you guys some Murph prep to do at home. And the hardest part of kind of doing Murph prep at home is the pull-up option. So if you don't have a pull-up bar or something that you can hang on to do pull-ups, Ty and I want to show you a couple different versions that you can do, whether you have a dumbbell, just a band, maybe a barbell, or if you have none of those things, hopefully we can find an option that you can do kind of depending on what you have at home. And sort of the goal for all of these is just to figure out a way to gauge your lats, kind of get your shoulders working a little bit. And one way that you can sort of do this and still get a really good workout, depending on whichever option you use, is just going a little bit slower. So controlling your movement a little bit, making sure you're keeping tension throughout, and if you want, even adding a pause. So if you think about ring rows kind of back at the gym, a couple times we've done ring rows where you pause at the top, and if ring rows aren't hard enough, that makes them just a little bit harder. So you can kind of take that with you to all these options as well. So nice and slow, nice and controlled, make sure you're focusing on kind of like pulling, squeezing those muscles, and always adding a little bit of pause can make it that much harder too. So in a sec, we'll show you kind of all these options. Okay, that was better. All right, guys, Ty is going to show you our first round of bodyweight rows. So we're pretending that this is our living room table, and Ty's going to show you how you can make this very similar to a ring row. So we set ours up a little bit just so Ty would be able to have kind of straight arms at the bottom, but then he's going to keep his core nice and tight, and he's simply going to pull his chest up to the top of his table and back down. Let's do 5 of them, Ty. And Ty's going to go slow and controlled. He's got a little bit of a pause at the top just to make it a little bit harder. And he's really trying to make this like a lat and back move rather than like a bicep pull. Perfect. Awesome. So there's one option. Another option, Lisa and I actually showed you this one in her garage. But if you have 2 chairs and you have like a broomstick or we used a shovel handle, you can always set those 2 things up. And then same idea as what Ty just showed us. You can just do rows with that. And then we also put on our thing a tailgate row. Because if you are someone who has a truck, we thought that could also make a good thing to kind of hang on to do a row. And then Ty's going to show you our next option, which is doing like a row kind of with a towel in your door.
All right, guys. So some of us don't have elastic bands to attach to the door. So this could be an option for you to still get your lats engaged and work on the pull-up strength for Murph coming up. So I have a towel set up here. I just put a knot on the end of it, and you can put it in a normal door frame. Throw it over the top. It probably won't shut with that big knot on it, so you could take the dumbbell you've been using or something heavy, maybe a book or a cat or a kid, and lock it in. And you have your makeshift ring row station. So just like you'd be signing up for a ring row, let yourself come all the way out. Trust the door a little bit. And same thing we were doing on the table rows. Nice and slow up, squeeze at the top, and really try to get that engagement of the lats, keep that core super tight. If you guys want to get a bit more of a burn, you can step closer to the door and do the same thing. But there's an option for you if you don't have a band or a pull-up bar for Murph. All right, guys, the next option would be if we do have an elastic band. We're going to do the same thing we did with the towel. Put a knot on the end of it and throw it over the door frame. Same thing for safety. Make sure we're putting that weight on the door. And we're just going to be doing banded face pulls and rows to engage those lats. Make sure you're pulling those elbows back, keeping that core engaged the whole time. And just don't let your shoulders round forward on this one. Make sure your shoulders are back, shoulder blades are squeezing together. And you can change the angle and pull to your belly button if you want. Get a different part of those lats. Or if you want to, keep those arms straight and pull through. If you guys want to as well, if you want to grab a broomstick, you could change just a variation of the pull to make it feel like you're on a bar. Just pull the same way as you would banded face pull or normal row, or just straight down, still engaging those lats. And if you guys want to change the angle even more, you can take a seat. Same cues here, keeping that core super tight. You can do the same 3 options here, banded face pull, pulling down low to the belly button, or straight arms, trying to engage those lats. Same thing here, you grab that broomstick, pull it through, and you have the same 3 movements.
All right, guys, so Ty is going to go through just a couple more options. We've already talked a little bit about sort of what you're thinking about and focusing on, so we're just going to go through a few more options. Ty, do you want to switch hands for us? Beautiful, thank you. So our next option, we've done these a couple times in the strength, but simply a bent over row with one arm. So this version, Ty has his hand kind of rested on something, so we're going to call this a supported bent over row. But you can also do this sort of in like the split stance position. So rather than resting your hand, Ty's just going to go in that nice athletic split stance, and he's going to simply do his bent over rows the same way. So for the bent over version, right, his back is nice and flat. He's making sure his torso isn't turning to the side, and he's just getting that elbow high and back. So those are 2 options if you have your 1 dumbbell. If your 1 dumbbell is a heavier version of a dumbbell and you're kind of having a hard time doing a lot of reps on one side, then you can also take your 1 dumbbell and do a bent over row just with the 1. So now's another good time too where you can kind of pause in that top position, squeeze those shoulder blades back. But that's another version if you have a heavy dumbbell. The next version we'll go through is a barbell row. So if you happen to have one of those at home, if you're one of the lucky few, then the best way to sort of get into that position is deadlift it up. Ty's going to go to that hang position, get that nice flat back, and then he's simply kind of pulling that bar towards his belly button. So if you have a barbell, that's another great option. If you don't, the next option would be kind of our backpack version. Ty's going to use a weight vest, but if you have a backpack, kind of the same idea. He's going to grab it just like he did with the 1 heavy dumbbell, and he's going to row it into his chest that way. Beautiful. If you don't have any of those things, but you do have a band, then there's 2 ways that you can do this with a band. The first is just that standing bent over row. So he's going to step on the band with both feet. Again, get into that good bent over row position. Hips are back. Back's nice and flat. Beautiful. And he's pulling it in. Awesome. The bent over version of these, of course, kind of gets your back a little bit involved as well. If you're not really into that, you always have this version of a row, just like that seated row. So same idea, pulling those elbows in. Beautiful. Good. And then our last version for you today is another door version. So Ty has that knot on the end there. He's going to hook it on the other side of the door. He's going to put his weight in front again, if you can't close your door all the way. And then he's going to go to that like split stance row position again. So 1 foot up, 1 foot back, and he's going to pull it in. Beautiful. Good. If you wanted to, you could also lunge, right, and kind of pull it in that way as well. Just kind of like a different angle for that single armed row.